Hey honey buns, and what is up? Today we are going to be making a Michael Kors jacket out of some Michael Kors scarves that I got from TJ Maxx. Let's get ready and let's get started. HoneyBuntv. Okay, honey buns, everything you need will be listed in the description box below, but as you can see here, you are going to need your top fabric, you're going to need a fabric to go inside, as well as some polyfill, and of course a measuring tape, scissors, and some pins. And don't forget a zipper to close up that jacket. Make sure it says heavy jacket, heavy metal on this piece, right, because it opens up. Now let's get started with cutting. I always cut my fabric on a fold, especially if I'm cutting more than one piece that is the same. So I'm just going to start with my back piece, and I am going to cut it down on a fold to make one solid piece when it opens up.
Will you be my leading lady? I wanna coach and get a little maybe in the meantime.
Now that I have finished cutting my back piece, I'm going to go ahead and cut my front piece, which is the chest area. Now for your chest, you are going to basically have two pieces, but what you can do is cut it on a fold and then cut it down the middle as you see me here doing, because that is going to be your opening. Now I'm just cutting it basically on top of the back that I have just cut out. Keep in mind, this is our top fabric, so we did not cut the fabric for the inside, but because we want a collar, we are going to go ahead and cut one. Now, any other time, as I will tell y'all, keep your scraps, and this is exactly what I mean by keeping your scraps. Now, I want my collar to be approximately 2 to 3 inches. Again, cutting on a fold will be a lifesaver for saving time and just saving cramps in your hand when you cut. But anyways, after I got that 3 inches on a fold, I am going to cut that, put the collar to the side, and put my fabric to the side as scraps. Now I'm gonna go ahead and cut the inside for my jacket. And when you cut the inside for your jacket, you can literally place your top fabric on top and do the same method, which is folding over that fabric and cutting it to its exact measurements. Now, you are going to follow suit when it comes to the armhole area. So again, this is on fold as y'all can see, and we are getting ready to move to cutting the inside for the arm. And as you can see me here doing, if you want to measure out to make sure that your arm is fully measured out the correct way and it's not too big around the armhole area, you can literally take your two pieces, your front and your back, and line them up and put the armhole in the middle, and that's how you will see from the points. Okay, honey buns, now we are getting ready to measure how far apart do we want our stuffing basically to be from each other. I went 7 inches down for my first line. I'm going to go another 7 inches down for my second line. And for my third and last line where the stuffing is going to be, I'm going to go 4 inches down. Now, you do not have to do 7-7-4. You can do 8-8-4. You can do 8-8-3. You can do 5-4-3-2-1 if you wanted to. But I did this because of my arm length, so it does vary depending on, again, how far apart you want your stuffing to be, as well as how long your arm is. Now, the same thing that we did for our arm, we are going to do for our jacket. The only difference in starting this, which I prefer to do, is to sew the shoulder first. So as you can see here, in majority of the time, you are going to place the right sides of your fabric together. And baby, if you don't know what the right sides of your fabric are, basically the good sides, the sides that are facing out in the front, the sides that are on the outside. So that is what I'm doing, and I'm going to put my interior fabric, and this is where it gets fun and not too complicated, especially if you're a beginner, on the inside basically any type of way, because there is no good side per se for this. Now I'm gonna sew the shoulders down first to keep it in place, and then I'm gonna pin just like how I did my arm. Remember, take your time. You ain't going nowhere right now. This is what your shoulder should look like after sewing down that area. So I did the first one so you guys can see what it looks like. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna do the second one. Okay, now we are going to go ahead and just find where and how far apart we want our stuffing to be away from each other, and do it just like how we did the arms. I know y'all probably tired of me repeating it, but keep that in your head. Do it just like how you did the arms. And now the difference between this and, in a way yes, in a way no, is that you obviously have a front and a back. When you have your arm, you do have a front and a back, but you don't have two pieces. You have basically one piece. So to make sure that everything lines up as it should, your front piece, which is your chest piece, you can bring it over and put it on top of your back piece, like in the jacket form, to make sure that everything aligns from the front to the back. And all I'm doing is just folding over to basically double pin on the other side, so when I do my lines, I can make sure that I am making a straight line from point A to point B. And now I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to sew each line straight. And as you can see here, I'm taking my pins off. I already took the first one off, and now I'm taking the second one off. After that, this is what it should look like. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna finish the jacket. Well, I'm gonna finish putting the lines on it, and then we're going to come back. So as y'all can see here, this is what it should look like when you're stuffing your jacket. Now I did the back just to have that done, but I'm going to demonstrate, of course, how to do the front. As you saw me there doing and saw for a second, I do have one side of my edges already sewed, and that's because I do not want the stuffing to come out. Now I don't want the stuffing to come out here, so what you just saw me do right there is measure 1.5 inches, and or half an inch, is up to you, but half an inch away from the end. And why do I say that? Because this jacket is basically puffy. And when you sew it together and you got puffer polyfill all the way to the end, it makes it extremely difficult, and we ain't got time for that. Let's make it easy on ourselves. So that's why you see me filling the jacket not completely all the way to the end. And if you accidentally put too much in there, baby, you could take it, you could take a little bit out and just pat it on down. Okay, honey buns, I hope that y'all are still here with me. Now, as you can see here, this is my arm area. I have not sewn both sides. I have only sewn one side. And yes, I did make a mistake and mix it, but that's okay. So as you can see here, I've sewn one side and I've also sewn the bottom so the filler will not come out. But also when you do this, it makes it a little bit easier for things to just stay in place, especially as a beginner. And what I'm just showing you guys here is the top portion that again you may need to sew so the filling will not come out at the top. So remember, I sewed the side, one side, and I sewed the bottom, which in reality the other side that is not sewn down is going to get sewn down when we flip this together and make it basically one complete armhole. Now, as y'all can see, I done filled one arm up a little bit too much and I'm just taking a little bit out. But as I'm taking it out, I'm pressing it right on down so it won't look kind of discombobulated, if that makes sense, or just uneven. So don't be afraid to take some out so you can get your desired look. Now, what we are going to do, since we've already sewn one side and we've already sewn the bottom, is flip it over, because now we are going to sew this armhole complete. And the cool thing about having lines that match up with each other and already one side sewn is that you can see and make sure that everything aligns with its line basically. So I'm just pinning them here to keep it in place and ready to go for the sewing machine. Now I'm going to show you two ways to sew an armhole on, but I'm going to tell you way one may be a little bit for medium advanced sewers, and way two may be a little bit easier and is a little bit easier for beginners, but it is to your discretion. We are going to start with way one. Now, I'm finna sew this all the way down, and then we are going to get ready to sew it to our jacket. But I'm just gonna tell you right now, to start off sewing slow, if you have a serger, you can start off pretty slow as well. But if you are using a regular traditional sewing machine, you just want to back stitch before you start so your stitch will not come out and or slip. So this is way one. And with way one, what you are literally going to do is flip the armhole inside out, from the outside in, if that makes sense, from the inside out. Flip that thing to the perfect side. And then what you are going to do is you are going to flip your jacket inside out, as you see here. And look, you are going to, like a puzzle piece, fit that armhole in there, and you're going to sew around that little arm casing where the hole is. Now I'm discovering that this is kind of fray fabric, and fray fabric can get a little hard to work with because it frays, and it can fray anywhere. Now I do have a part 2 on how you can fix that, but until then, let's focus on this. So like I said, you are going to pin your needles around where that armhole opening is, and you are going to sew around in a circle until it closes. And what I'm doing is lining my seams right on up. I'm lining them up. Now, if you done sewed the top portion of your arm, after you sew it on, then you can bust that seam, because where you sew that should be at least a couple inches down. And I'm sorry I didn't say that earlier, but it should be at least a couple inches down. That way it's already kept everything in place and it's easier for you to bust the seam. Now that my arm is on that side, we are going to do the... Is this all right? Okay, let's just... Okay, this is right. Okay. Let's just, again, place our fabric on the right in... No, hold on. Now, actually, you can do this any type of way. Right. So place your fabric on the right side on the floor. That should be matching the floor. And what you're gonna do, like I said before, is match those seams up. Remember when I was saying in the beginning, if you wanna make sure that your armhole lines up with everything and is not too big, this is how you can also test that. This is what I mean. So as you can see here, where my armhole ends, I am matching up to that sleeve. Now we are going to sew this, but we are going to sew this with everything that is folded in one piece. So I'm going to show you what that will look like. Okay, so what you are going to do is, again, right sides facing each other, right? You are going to flip that over, and just how we pinned the armhole, you are going to pin it down the same way to get sewn down. Now, you can either sew this two ways. You can sew this starting at the middle point where you see my hand right there, and then going all the way to the left to finish the arm, and then you can start back there in the middle and finish the bottom piece to the front, and or you can start all the way from the armhole coming up all the way down to the front, and or like how I'm doing here, you can start at the bottom and follow all the way through up to the ends of the arm area. Now, second step before last is putting that collar on your jacket. Now, again, right sides facing each other, and you are going to sew only the ends. After the ends are sewn, you are going to basically flip this to the right side. This is what it should look like when it's flipped to the right side. And now what you are going to do is match up the ends. Now, usually when I do my collars, I start with the middle. But if you are confident and know that your collar matches and lines up, then you can start at the front piece and just pin it all around. And literally after you pin it all around, you are going to sew it all around. You can start at the middle, starting to sew to the right, or you can start at the middle, starting to sew at the left, or you can just start whichever way feels comfortable for you. And after this is all finished, baby, we need to put a zipper on that jacket. Now, my jacket is 20 inches long, and so is my zipper. I'm just going to line my zipper up with the top, and I'm going to use my traditional sewing machine and sew it down. And baby, this is how it should come out looking. See you, honey buns, on HoneyBuntv next week. Mwah.